I think more shock and dauntingness was more of the feeling I felt. But it was, the thing is, I think I was on such a high anyway, and so was Catherine, about George, that really we were happy to show him off to whoever wanted to see him. As any new parent knows, you're only too happy to show off your...
Beneath the glittering crowns and grand palaces, the royal family faces battles far more personal than the public sees. What happens when a simple family gathering meant to heal and unite instead exposes deep wounds and fragile alliances? This story begins with a royal picnic that appears perfect on the surface: freshly baked scones, silver teapots, and children playing in the sun. But beneath this peaceful scene, tensions simmer, threatening to unravel the family's carefully crafted image. At the center is young Prince George, the future king, whose innocent world is shaken by cruel teasing from a cousin. How does a child born into royalty cope with pain and taunts that touch on his family's most painful past? And how far will his parents go to protect him? As the story unfolds, we see the complex dynamics between King Charles III, Queen Camilla, and the next generation.
I want to say a few words about my father and why I believe this weekend is so important. But don't worry, unlike Lionel, I won't go on all night long.
How do loyalty, power, and family duty clash behind closed doors? Can the monarchy survive when even blood relations become divided? Prince William and Kate's fierce resolve to shield their children reveals the raw challenges of raising a family under constant scrutiny. What price does the royal family pay to maintain its public image? And when tradition conflicts with personal pain, which will win? This narrative invites us to look beyond the crowns and ceremonies and ask, who really holds power in a royal family? How do private hurts shape public decisions? And what does it truly mean to be a prince or princess today? This story is not just about royalty. It's about family, resilience, and the hidden battles everyone faces. In a world where every move is watched, how do they find peace? Shadows beneath the royal picnic. The soft sunlight draped over the Balmoral estate, where tartan blankets dotted the manicured lawn like colorful islands. Silver teapots gleamed in the warm breeze, and freshly baked scones filled the air with a sweet, comforting scent. The laughter of children echoed, but beneath this peaceful scene, a quiet tension hung unseen. George, the young prince and heir to the throne, had slipped away from the laughter and games. No one caught the hushed exchange between him and another boy. Only the sadness reflected in George's eyes and the heavy steps he took away from the gathering. Kate noticed immediately. The gentle boy she knew seemed distant, his usual lightness replaced with a shadow she recognized all too well. William watched calmly, his decision already made. Without consulting King Charles, he signed an order. Camilla's grandson was banned from being near his children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. This choice sparked an extraordinary rift in the royal family, a conflict fought with quiet determination rather than swords. By summer 2025, England hummed with a familiar yet uneasy rhythm. The cool breeze swept through green fields, but the echoes of past storms lingered. King Charles III, recovering from illness, was slowly regaining his strength. Under the glittering chandeliers of Buckingham Palace, a national broadcast brought a wave of hope. The king's steps were slower, but his eyes shone with renewed faith in the monarchy. The public sighed in relief, but questions about the royal family's future lingered like a silent cloud. In a quiet study at Buckingham Palace, Charles sat behind an ancient oak desk. Sunlight caught his silver hair as he read a handwritten letter, a personal invitation to the Wales family for a private picnic at Balmoral. It wasn't a royal event, but a rare attempt to mend invisible cracks within the family. "We need each other now more than ever," he murmured, fingers tapping lightly on the desk. Nearby, Queen Camilla reviewed the guest list. The word family made her pause. To her, family extended beyond royal bloodlines. It included her grandchildren, untitled but very much her own. Her lips pressed tight as she instructed an aide, "Add my grandchildren to the list." Her voice was low but firm. This was their chance to stand beside the future of the monarchy. The aide nodded silently. Camilla's eyes gleamed, not with joy, but with careful calculation. Meanwhile, at Anmer Hall, Kate sat by a window bathed in soft afternoon light. Charles's letter lay open in her hands, her gaze fixed on the words as if searching for a hidden meaning. A chill crept over her, a sharp instinct telling her something wasn't quite right. William entered, rolling up his shirt sleeves, bringing a rare casual air to their busy day. "Father invited us to Balmoral," Kate said quietly, handing him the letter. William scanned the message, brow furrowing. He met her eyes, sensing her hesitation. "What's bothering you?" he asked, voice warm but steady. Kate sighed, eyes drifting to the garden where George played with Charlotte and Louis. "I don't know, William. After all we've been through, can a picnic really be just a picnic?" William rested a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. "Father's had a hard time. Maybe he just wants us together. For the kids, for their happiness." He smiled, trying to ease her worry. "And after your treatments, you deserve a day to relax." Kate looked into his eyes and nodded softly. For the kids, then. But the uneasy feeling inside her didn't fade. The morning of the picnic at Balmoral felt like a classic painting come to life. Tartan blankets spread neatly over manicured lawns, wooden tables piled with scones, orange marmalade, and silver teapots shining in the sun. Charles's corgis darted after balls tossed by Louis, filling the air with giggles. Adults exchanged polite conversation, mingling with birdsong, crafting a perfect picture, at least on the surface. Kate sat on a cushion, her elegant blue dress simple and approachable. Her eyes followed the children, especially George. He played alongside his cousins, including Camilla's 13-year-old grandson, a boy with a mischievous smile and sharp eyes. Something about him unsettled Kate, but she couldn't put her finger on what. William stood with Charles talking about Highland conservation. He noticed security quietly blending into the bushes, watching over the children. "Father, Camilla's grandchildren, anything I should know about?" William asked quietly. Charles sipped his tea, eyes flickering with a hidden thought. "Just children, William. Don't read too much into it." William didn't reply, but kept a watchful gaze on George, who tried to fit in despite the tension. Camilla, in a beige silk dress, stood nearby with a satisfied smile. "Let the children be free," she told an aide softly. "They need to learn to live as a family," but in her eyes there was a spark of something else, a plan quietly unfolding in this seemingly innocent moment. The afternoon sun bathed Balmoral's lawn in a golden glow, but among the children, the mood had shifted. Early laughter was replaced by whispers and sharp glances. George, cautious and proud, found himself cornered in a circle of cousins. "That proud walk because of the crown, huh?" Camilla's grandson taunted, half joking but sharp. Other children snickered, some curious, some uncertain. George's cheeks flushed, and he stared at his shoes, searching for words that wouldn't come. The boy stepped closer, venom sharpening his tone. "Heard your grandma was great at leaving this world." The unspoken name, Diana, hung heavy, cruel, and cutting. Silence fell over the group. Some children exchanged nervous looks, unsure whether to laugh or turn away. George stood firm, hands clenched to steady his trembling. "You're a prince!" His parents' voices echoed in his mind. "Hold yourself steady!" He breathed deeply, fighting tears. "I'm fine," he said quietly, but clearly enough for all to hear. He stepped back, not from fear, but to escape the storm. He moved to a large oak tree far from the group and sat alone. From her place on the lawn, Kate watched her son. His usual light steps were now slow and weighted with something unseen. He sat under the tree, knees drawn close, staring out at distant hills as if searching for something lost. Kate set down her teacup, tuning out the polite chatter around her. She walked to George and asked softly, "Why aren't you playing with your cousins?" She sat beside him and touched his shoulder, feeling the tension in his small frame. George looked up, his eyes glistening with sadness he tried to hide. "I'm just tired, Mom," he said, voice flat but forced into a smile. "Are you sure?" Kate asked, tilting her head, reading between the lines. She sensed something was wrong but hesitated, knowing his strained calm was a mask. George nodded, eyes drifting through the bushes as if sensing invisible watchers. He had learned young that cameras could be anywhere. "Don't show weakness," his father had said. "They'll write stories that aren't true." Despite the heaviness in his chest and the sharp taunts, he held his posture, smiled bravely, and whispered, "I'm okay." But his clenched hands betrayed the truth. Kate smiled back, but her mother's instinct stirred. She knew George hid his pain to protect others. She smoothed his hair, but her eyes scanned the lawn, locking onto Camilla's grandson, laughing carelessly with the other children. A quiet fire rose within her, but she kept it hidden, not wanting George to feel her anger. "All right, love," she said, standing and taking his hand. "If you're tired, rest. I'm here." She led him back toward William and Charles, her eyes never leaving her son. In that moment, she understood. George wasn't just a boy playing in the sun. He was a prince, already carrying the heavy weight of the crown. The picnic went on, teacups clinking and smiles worn like masks hiding a brewing storm. Under the oak tree, George sat with his forced smile in place, gazing at the hills, not for the beauty, but to escape unseen eyes. That evening, Anmer Hall felt like a warm home rather than a palace. Soft light spilled over the living room where Kate sat beside George, now in a soft sweater, curled on the couch clutching a pillow like a shield. The ticking clock broke the silence, but to Kate, her own heart beat louder. The picnic's shadow lingered like a cold draft, wrapping around George. Kate studied her son, seeing not innocence, but the guarded eyes of someone hiding a wound. She moved closer, resting a gentle hand on his. "George, love," she whispered softly, "this is home. It's safe here. You can tell me anything." George looked up, eyes shimmering with sadness he had kept locked away. He bit his lip, fingers tightening on the pillow. "I don't want to worry you," he whispered, voice hesitant as if afraid speaking would unravel everything. Kate smiled, full of love and patience. "I'm your mom," she said. "Worrying about you is my job. Come on, tell me what happened at Balmoral." George took a deep breath, his voice soft and hesitant. "Camilla's grandson teased me," he said, hands gripping tighter. When he finished, the strength he'd clung to all day crumbled. Tears broke free, small sobs shaking his shoulders as he collapsed into his mother's arms. Kate held him close, stroking his hair, but her eyes hardened. The sorrow of a mother's pain turned into fierce resolve. She wasn't just comforting George. She was reminding herself he was her greatest treasure and no one could hurt him. In her mind, she saw Camilla's grandson's cruel smile and Camilla's polite one at the picnic. A quiet fire burned, but she restrained it, protecting George from her anger. "You did nothing wrong," she whispered firmly. "You're brave, and I'm so proud of you." She kissed his forehead and held him until his sobs slowed. Later, after George had gone to bed, Kate found William in his study. A cold cup of tea sat untouched as he sat with a furrowed brow. Kate closed the door behind her and spoke quietly. "George told me everything," she said. William looked up, eyes darkening. His grip tightened on the cup, knuckles white. He did not speak at first, but the storm inside him was clear. "George is just a child," he finally said, voice low and pained. "I thought only adults had to hear such words, but our son, he's only 11. Kate sat across from him, steady and strong. We couldn't protect your mother, she said softly. But I won't let our son face this alone. Never, William replied, eyes meeting hers with pain and determination. He set down the cup and took her hand tightly. We will protect George, no matter what it takes. The silence in the room was not surrender, but a vow, a promise forged in love and steel. Outside, night cloaked Anmer Hall, but inside the hearts of Kate. And William burned a fierce light, the royal rift. What your grandson said, it wasn't just about George, it was about Diana. Camilla's hands clenched into fists, nails digging into her palms. Diana, she repeated, voice trembling with rage. Always Diana. How many years will Charles and her shadow still haunt us? Charles sighed and stepped closer, his voice gentle but firm. My grandson is just a child. He doesn't know about those things. But he said those words, Camila. And William is right. I can't overturn his decision, not this time. Camilla's eyes bore into him, sharp and accusing. Can't or won't. You're King Charles. You have the power. Or do you fear your son more than your wife? Charles faltered. I understand your pain, he whispered. But William isn't just my son. He's the future of the monarchy. I won't stand between him and his son. The silence between them deepened, cold and unyielding. Camilla turned sharply and left, the door slamming shut behind her. Servants bowed in the hall, but avoided her furious gaze. A new fear took root. Her carefully built position was cracking. Later, at Clarence's house, the glass room filtered soft light over white orchids and silk furniture, but the atmosphere was tense. William and Kate entered, poised but resolute. They sat opposite Camilla at the small tea table. Not a single teacup was touched. Camilla spoke first, her tone soft yet controlled. We should resolve this as a family. Children will be children. Let's not escalate things. Kate's eyes locked on Camilla's with quiet strength. A child doesn't mock Diana unless they've heard it from an adult, she said evenly, piercing through the polite veneer. Camilla's fingers tightened around her dress, but she stayed silent, her smile stiff. Anger simmered beneath, but she knew any outburst would only weaken her. William leaned forward, voice steady and resolute. Not every hurt can be erased with silence. This line is drawn, from now on. His words hit like a wall, shutting down any argument. Camilla wanted to remind him of royal unity and her efforts to strengthen the monarchy, but his eyes, those of a son who lost his mother and a protective father, silenced her. The meeting ended without handshakes or smiles. William and Kate rose and left Camilla alone with her tangled thoughts, staring out at wilting roses in the autumn breeze. By Sunday, the story had exploded across headlines and social media. Prince George bullied by Queen Camilla's grandson. No one knew the source, a careless aide, a whispered conversation, a candid camera, but the story spread worldwide. Tweets and posts poured in with outrage and empathy. No child deserves this, one read. George is our hope. He deserves protection. Inside Buckingham Palace, the atmosphere grew suffocating. Camilla sat in her drawing room, pale light casting shadows on her usually flawless makeup. Her hands trembled as she turned the pages of the newspapers. Each headline cut deeper, not just at her grandson, but at the position she had spent years building. Fear gnawed at her. The future she envisioned was slipping through her fingers. Camilla summoned her advisors urgently. In the room lined with royal portraits, her voice was calm but carried steel. William must retract his ban on my grandson. The monarchy's image is at stake. We need a public statement to stop this fire from spreading. Her advisors nodded, uneasy but loyal, launching a discreet campaign, late-night calls, private meetings, drafted statements, all aimed at calming the storm. They believed only William's denial could restore unity. At Anmer Hall, William stood firm in his study, afternoon light warming his resolute face. Kate sat nearby, her eyes steady and protective. When the aide delivered Camilla's request, William cut him off with a raised hand. His gaze swept the room, unyielding. This is a lesson, not just for Camilla's grandson, but for anyone who disrespects the royal bloodline. His words echoed like a decree carved in stone. Royal events were rearranged with precision to ensure Camilla's grandson and William's children never crossed paths. The palace had spoken. William would not back down. As autumn draped England in golden hues, the palace remained cold and fractured. Yet amid the cracks, a new legacy was quietly forming, not of power or gold, but love, resolve, and dignity. In her private room, Camilla saw William anew, not as a stepson to mold, but a formidable adversary, the man who valued honor over ambition. In the shadows, advisors whispered of shifting schedules and schemes, but at Anmer Hall, William and Kate sat close, firelight flickering on their faces, eyes locked with a vow unspoken but unwavering. Their children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, slept unaware as their parents forged a legacy where the crown was more than authority. It was a symbol of duty, love, and courage. Not every battle demands bloodshed. Some need only a father who speaks out and a mother who refuses to bow. Henceforth, those who wear the crown must prove themselves worthy, not just by right, but by heart. The weeks that followed tested every thread of the royal family's fragile unity. Camilla's advisors worked tirelessly behind the scenes, their whispered campaigns painting William as rigid and unyielding to those who wished for a peaceful resolution. But William's resolve only grew stronger. To him, protecting his children's innocence was a sacred duty, one that transcended protocol or political maneuvering. In quiet moments, Kate confided in close friends how the public storm weighed on her. "It's not just about headlines," she said. "It's about shielding our children from a past none of them should inherit." Her voice softened with the weight of motherly worry. "George is only 7. The world expects him to be a prince, but at home, he must be a child first." Meanwhile, Camilla's frustration simmered beneath layers of decorum. She paced in her drawing room late at night, rehearsing the conversations she wished she could have with Charles, with William. The monarchy's future was at stake, she believed, yet every step she took seemed to push her further from the center of power. Her ambitions tangled with her maternal instincts, creating a storm of doubt she had never faced before. One evening, during a rare phone call, Charles and Camilla spoke quietly. "William is not a boy to be dismissed," Charles said, voice weary but clear. "He carries the legacy of Diana not as a burden, but as a shield for his children. We must respect that." Camilla sighed, the sound heavy with resignation. "I wanted to unite them. Instead, I fear I have divided them further." Charles paused. "Perhaps the crown demands more than unity. It demands patience, understanding, and sometimes humility." As winter approached, the palace atmosphere shifted from confrontation to cautious distance. Family events were carefully curated, orchestrated with precision to avoid conflict, yet maintain the appearance of royal harmony. Camilla observed from a distance as William and Kate balanced public duties with private healing. But beneath the surface, a new respect began to form. William's unwavering stance was not a rejection of family, but a fierce protection of its future. Camilla's ambitions softened, tempered by the realization that true power lay not in manipulation, but in earning trust and demonstrating integrity. In the quiet of Clarence House, Camilla finally allowed herself to envision a different legacy, one where her grandchildren could grow free from the shadows of past grievances, where love and respect formed the foundation of the monarchy's strength. The royal family's story was far from over. But amid the cracks and challenges, a fragile hope flickered, one that spoke of renewal, resilience, and the enduring power of family. The royal family's struggle is a timeless dance of power and love, legacy and sacrifice. In a world watching every move, it's the quiet strength of family bonds and unwavering resolve that will shape the future. What would you do if your family's honor was on the line? How far would you go to protect those you love? The crown is heavy, but the heart behind it can make all the difference. If you found this story compelling, please like, subscribe, and share to keep these royal tales alive.